Dude,
Do these people have brain damage? Like, where have we come to as a society?
they are sick and disgusting.
That people are willing to defend the indefensible in order to save face with a person who doesn't give a shit about them. Trump, like, do y'all know? This man does not care about you.
Right.
He will exploit you. He will lie to your face. He will cut your benefits. He's cutting a lot of y'all's health care. He does not care about you. So why are you defending this man?
Hey, what up, guys? Welcome back to Ask the Next Question. I'm Colton.
I'm Joshua.
And we got a great show prepared for you guys tonight. And, hanging out with my boy Josh here.
What's up?
Listen, man, it's been a wild week. I just watched my Philadelphia Eagles lose what looked like a for sure win to
21-0.
the worst team in America.
The Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I wasn't watching the beginning of the game. It was 21-0.
Yeah.
The Browns were playing, so I was watching that.
Yeah.
Shador Sanders was starting quarterback for us, got his first win.
Oh, snap.
First start. This is actually the first time the quarterback who's starting for the first time won his first game for the Browns since '95.
Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah, good sign. I mean, we're playing the freaking Raiders.
How'd he look?
He looked solid. I mean, I'm not going to get my hopes up. We're playing a garbage team.
Yeah.
But he threw a couple nice balls. He threw an interception. But it felt like the offense had more juice to him. So hopefully some hope.
I don't know what happened, bro.
I don't know what happened to y'all, yeah.
Yeah, because we lost 24-21. And if my 4-year-old finds out that we lost, I turn the game off when we were winning. Just because he hate if the Eagles lose, he gets so upset. He's like, I'm gonna punch the TV.
Yeah, that was me.
I'm gonna punch a cowboy. I'm like, oh, I don't know if you saw that, by the way. We could probably play this clip silently while I tell you about it.
Sure.
But you see that news story in Philly? They had like these little blow up punching bags with Dallas Cowboys players printed on it in elementary school or middle school in Philly. Like the kids have boxing gloves on.
The rivalry is real.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That's what it's like in Philly. That was a wild time for me when I moved my junior year of high school from Philly to Dallas. Yeah, because all of a sudden, I'm in Cowboys country.
Yeah.
They still, at that point, they were still delusional enough to think they were the team that used to be good.
Yeah, I'm like,
they still had that attitude.
Who did they even have? Tony Romo back then?
Yeah.
As the quarterback? Okay.
I think at this point, though, they kind of know.
Yeah, they've had their dreams crushed enough.
My ex-stepmom actually used to be cut. She was a hairstylist, and she used to style hair for a lot of the Dallas Cowboys, and she used to cut the quarterback. What was his name? Troy Aikman. I was thinking of Clay Aiken from American Idol.
I didn't know if you were being serious and saying his name wrong. Yeah,
she used to cut Troy Aikman's hair.
Aikman, yeah.
And I let her cut my hair one time. It was the worst haircut. I was like, what are you doing? Yeah. No, but...
were you wearing an Eagles jersey? Is that why?
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been. But yeah, dude, it sucks. But,
That's still good. You're 7-3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bears are good, too. They just won another one there. What, 8-3 now?
Yeah.
So...
Well, they're having, even with the Eagles losing, they're probably going to have a better week than a lot of other people once these Epstein Files drop, because
there's going
to be a lot of people that have a much worse week.
It's been a bad week for a few people already.
Yeah.
So I know in the next month, there's going to be a lot of people that are
there's been a lot of people like catching strays in this that like did not expect. Where I'm like, oh no, Noam Chomsky,
bro. How did he get caught up in that?
I believe him. When he got caught, you saw he got caught flying on a plane, on the Epstein plane before, like that.
No.
Like, that came out a while back.
Okay.
Where it was like, well, you were in the flight logs.
Okay.
And he's like, I was in a place, he was in a place, I had to get back. He said, I'm going there. You can ride with me. I said, okay. I was like, that's
what year was it,
plausible. I don't recall.
Okay.
But now what it seems like is Chomsky's just straight up writing letters of recommendation. Like, my good friend Jeffrey is giving me indispensable information on the politics of blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right.
We don't understand. I just don't understand what this guy ever did to warrant this sort of reception from all these people across industries, across the world.
Yeah.
We don't know. It just seems like he's just like Jesus Christ came down out of nowhere, or maybe a better analogy would be Satan.
He came down out of nowhere.
And is like wielding this power over the rich and powerful. And we're just like, but what did you actually do to get this sort of influence?
Bro, I think that like if you can just be generous, people are drawn to you, even wealthy people. Like people, they're drawn to people who are generous. And so I think somebody out there some intelligence agency probably equipped him with an unlimited supply of money to not just like give money to people, but offer those kinds of plane rides. Like, because now that you have, maybe it did start there with Noam Chomsky. Once you have him on your plane, now you're talking. Now you're giving.
Networked.
And if you are a psyop, like if you are an agent of the Mascot or the CIA, or you're doing, there's like. Stuff from these most recently leaked emails too that show that he was cooperating with Russian intelligence to give information on Trump. Like it's in the files. Like if you got all these connections, then maybe you do have access to information you can leak out to other people. Then even with Noam Chomsky, that makes me think, okay, so what kind of analysis are you doing if it's coming from sources, like unverified sources are giving you information that could be falsified information? Dude, it's just disappointing, man.
It's disappointing. It's disorienting. I mean, this is a story that's been around for, I think I first heard about it in like 2018. There was a little Netflix documentary that came out, and I hadn't heard that much about it. And so it was kind of shocking. They didn't get into everything, but even the connection to like Lex Wexner. And so I grew up in Columbus. And so there's like the Wexner Center of the Arts, and he's big in Columbus. And so I was like, wait a minute. What's the connection here? So I started to kind of looking into it a little bit, but it was just kind of shocking. And then he mysteriously dies in prison after having gotten away with some of the worst crimes humanity's ever seen for decades.
Bro, I had a Mandela effect today thinking about this, because like the QAnon, like Pizzagate conspiracy people, they did such a good job framing this to be just about the Clintons and like nobody else, that I thought for sure Epstein died in, like I had like a moment where I was like, no, that was when Hillary Clinton was president. I was like, oh, like Trump was president. It was Hillary Clinton. I was like, what universe am I in right now?
If only.
I had a parallel slippage moment.
You were in an alternative universe where Hillary Clinton won and Trump never won. I wonder what the world would be like. People say 2016 was like a pivotal moment. The kids, like Gen Z, is like so nostalgic for 2016. I saw a TikTok the other day. This woman she's younger than us. She's like in her 20s, but late 20s, teaches college students, and they were asking her, what was it like in 2016? Yeah. It's just so weird that there's such a nostalgia from that period of time. And I'm like, I guess it was a better time back then.
We talked before about when Obama got elected and both of our experiences, what was going on. What was it like? What was your experience like? Do you remember the election in 2016? Yeah. Like what was that experience?
I remember everything. I was in college. It was my senior year of college. Yeah. And I was living with a few guys. And I just remember that whole fall had been bad. There was a lot of, BLM was really popping off at that time. There was a lot of police killings that were pretty public. I just, like everybody, we just knew Hillary Clinton was going to win.
Right.
So it was like, I'm going to stay up and watch the election. My friends, they all went to sleep. I stayed up and watched it. And I remember the next morning waking up to Trump having won. It just felt like I entered an alternative universe. Number one, because on my campus in Ohio, there were people who were actually celebrating the shit.
Yeah.
I remember going to class and they knew, because it's a pretty liberal school, they knew not to like openly celebrate, but I saw people sitting in the corner snickering in the laboratory, watching the proceedings on their laptop. I was just shook. Like, number one, that he won, but number two, that anybody was around me would be happy about it. It just felt like the mask was coming off for a lot of people around me in ways that was incredible.
I was in Oklahoma. A lot of people were excited.
Okay.
I mean, they were. Yeah. I think every single county went red. It was the only state in that election. Every single county went red.
Yeah.
But I remember for me, dude. So there's this skit out there from SNL. Maybe you've seen it with Dave Chappelle, and it's like election night 2016, and it's like
I've seen that.
Dave Chappelle, maybe one other black person, and then like they're with their white friends.
Okay.
And like the night started off, everyone's all happy, they're drinking wine.
I've seen this. Yeah.
And like slowly as the night goes on, like, and it becomes more and more like Trump, they're like in denial, like, I mean, it's only 69% in, you know what I mean? And as they go further, they just get depressed. Yeah. But then Dave Chappelle's like, I don't know why you guys are surprised.
Yeah.
But apart from that aspect of it, that was my experience that night. I was like at my friend's house. A bunch of us there were drinking wine. We're playing drinking games with it. We're celebrating. And then slowly the mood just starts to crater until it was just abysmal. But It's just so crazy to me how the narrative became, I'm not like defending the Clintons here. I think they're absolutely implicated in all the Epstein stuff. Yeah. But how the narrative about Epstein became about like the Clintons, even though Trump is like in office when it happens. Like,
and also he was like his best friend for a little while.
Bro, it's crazy.
I mean, it's just clearly how the narrative is manufactured and shaped by Donald Trump. He loves to control the narrative. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. The whole Epstein, so the recent news is that Trump has just signed the bill that was speed run through the Senate and through the House after the shutdown came to an end.
Mike Johnson was sweating.
Yeah, either he was sweating or he was acting. Some people think he was acting.
You think he was acting?
I don't know. I'm not saying I believe that, but
I wonder what the motivation would be for him to be acting. I don't know. Not that good of an actor.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I just don't. I'm so cynical about everything. I'm like, I don't trust taking anything at face value. But yeah, he was salty that there was no edits or anything to the.
He was like, it needed amendments.
Yeah, no, but I'm like, you think they're just gonna put it out there without scrubbing the data? Like, of course they are.
Right.
So what are you really salty about? He needs to, and he also said they need to protect the innocent men. You see that?
I did not see that.
He came out and said that's one of the reasons that they needed amendments to make sure that innocent men that may have been around Epstein but didn't do anything wrong.
I hate to see.
We need to make sure that the innocent men are protected.
I hate to see those innocent men.
The innocent men that just knew that Epstein was a PDF file and didn't do anything about it. The innocent men that hung around him, they didn't participate, but they also didn't say anything.
Right.
They're innocent, and we need to make sure they're protected. Allegedly.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think we're gonna get? How much do you think we're gonna get from the file release? It's got to happen in the next 30 days.
30 days. Yeah. So I think a number of things. Right. One is there's like wording in there that says that they have to release it, but anything that it could, leak information or compromise an ongoing investigation.
Yep.
They don't have to put that out. It's kind of convenient that Trump went ahead and opened an investigation into Democrats on Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. So now there is an ongoing investigation.
Yep.
Theoretically, they could say anything falls under that. I know there's like you were saying that somebody said they have to have like a specific
reasons next to each redaction saying a specific reason why it's being redacted. Who knows how specific they will actually be?
Yeah. Well, I feel like if the specificity would endanger or compromise the ongoing investigation, then
they can just write that in. They can
just say that.
Or national security, which is a blanket statement as well.
Yeah. So something like that. Also, of course, we know there's been like reporting that Trump's name is being, scrubbed. Because not because he's the president, but because he was a private citizen in 2006.
I don't even understand like what the justification for that is. Is there a legal statute that says?
Are we scrubbing all private citizens' names? Like.
What makes him any different from like Reid Hoffman, who just got implicated?
Right.
He was an executive. Trump was an executive. Trump was on the fucking Apprentice. Mm-hmm. He's not just a regular citizen.
It's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
So there's that, but then it's also there was that deputy chief from the Department of Justice, the acting deputy chief, who got caught on hidden camera, basically saying like, oh yeah, there's thousands and thousands of pages of this, and but when it comes out, like they're gonna scrub all the Republicans' names from it, so we'll have all of that scrubbed out. I
don't get how anyone is going to take what they put out seriously,
bro. Because Republicans are sycophants for Trump and for anything the administration does.
You're right.
They'll do anything. And in a lot of ways, many Democrats are sycophants for, Democratic politicians. Yeah. Obama could go around bombing children with drones all day long, and most liberals are going to make up excuses for that.
Yep.
They're going to make up excuses for Trump on this. They're just going to believe it. It's crazy. I was having this conversation with my dad, and I was like, Trump was on, they were doing something on TV talking about how he's been, pardoning people when they donate money to, his son's Bitcoin stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, you see how obviously this is like corruption, right? Yeah. And my dad was like, well, I mean, this seems a little biased reporting. And I'm like, come on, Pop. I was like, when Hunter Biden goes out and makes $1 billion from a Russian energy company that, he has no expertise in, I can look at that and be like, that's corruption,
very
right?
Clearly.
A lot of Democrats can't, the same way my dad can't see it with Trump. But so and then the MAGA people are even more so sycophantic. Yeah. Although we have seen like the most pushback from within MAGA against Trump has come from the Epstein stuff.
Yeah, I mean you can't run a campaign and whip up the idea that you're going to release the Epstein Files, knowing that you have a QAnon conspiracy that you benefited from. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been talking about this. Candace Owens has been talking. All these people that supported you.
Yeah.
A lot of the reason why, for whatever reason, is that they think that you're going to release the files. And so you can't then, when you get in office, say, there's no files, it's a hoax.
Yeah.
Like,
well, Josh, Epstein Files, you're still talking about this Epstein guy?
Who's talking about him? He's so irrelevant.
The most comically guilty thing you could say. Epstein. Trump might as well come out in a banana suit and be like, who did this?
He's so shameless.
I don't know if you get that reference.
No, I don't.
I'll have to show you that after.
Okay.
Some of you guys will get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's alienated his base. And now it seems like, to your point, people are starting to turn on him a little bit. Nick Fuentes, who we keep talking about. Honestly, I hate bringing this dude up, but he's becoming more relevant.
Yeah, he's become more relevant, which says a lot about the landscape of the right. Yeah, the
right wing. But he's come out and basically said Trump is in the files. Elon Musk came out months ago when him and Trump was having beef and said the reason they don't want to release it is because Trump is in the Epstein Files. Sidebar: I don't know if you saw this today. I think they officially got rid of the Department of Government Efficiency. Mm-hmm. It's officially been disbanded after they cut almost nothing, and except for all the USAID aid that was saving millions of lives. They cut that. They're not going to reinstate that part, but they are going to get rid of those.
Well, I will say it was a success in that I think if you look into it, Elon was probably successful at funneling a bunch more government taxpayer money into his pockets.
Yeah. I think he can't be mad at that return on his time and energy. I guess he got in a little skirmish with Trump. Got a black guy. I remember that. You remember that press conference where he had his kid in there? He had the black guy. But yeah, that was right before he said that Trump is in the files, and that's why he doesn't want to release them. Yeah,
that's pretty wild, bro. But yeah, it's pretty nuts. The amount of big name people that are implicated. I will say, it's interesting. Like a Bernie Sanders. Not implicated.
Not implicated. I wonder why.
Not only not implicated, I saw a clip where what's that girl's name? Her name's Kate something. She's dope. She's got I can't remember her name.
It's okay.
But she was talking about how not only is Bernie not named in the files, but Bernie actually brought to the attention there was like some bill that was passed. Oh man, this entire thing is escaping my mind.
Do we have a clip?
Yeah, I think we have a clip.
Let's play a clip.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at what the Epstein Files say about Bernie Sanders. It's kind of crazy because this is an inside look into what the elites are saying about everything. There's really personal conversations that we would never have gotten to see otherwise. Important context is that Jeffrey Epstein was a known consultant for other rich guys to help them pay as little taxes as possible. The first mention is the Bezos Act. It's an acronym. Stop Bad Employers by Zeroing Out Subsidies Act. Basically, if a large employer like Amazon that has huge profits is hiring people who rely on federal assistance, this act taxes the employers the amount employees receive in federal benefits. So it stops major corporations from relying on the government to subsidize their payroll. Interesting that the rich dudes in the Virgin Islands were clocking this. And he had a lot of emails back and forth with Larry Summers, who was an economic advisor to President Obama and largely credited for the more neoliberal, conservative economic policies. Obama ran as a populist, and people think that inner circle folks like Larry Summers are those who swayed him. And if you read Larry Summers' writings, that becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly. This email subject that he forwarded to Jeffrey is a tax loophole just for Jeffrey Epstein. And then there's a video of Bernie Sanders on the floor of the Senate saying this.
Buried in this legislation on page 503, section 14504, is a paragraph entitled, quote, modification to source rules involving possessions, end of quote. Now, what does that mean? It means that, as best we can understand, if you are a hedge fund manager who is a resident of the Virgin Islands, you will be able to get a major tax break on capital gains and a 90% reduction in tax liability on your income.
This is really interesting to me. They spoke about the practices within the DNC that were unfair to the Bernie Sanders campaign. This is something people in, progressive politics talk about a lot. You never really hear big figures in the media talking about this, in establishment media. So it's really interesting to me that they're talking about that whole ordeal in 2016 in their emails. And so yeah, there were no emails directly between Bernie and them, but they did frequently talk about how Bernie Sanders was coming for their lifestyle. He lives rent-free in their heads.
Bro, so literally a 90% reduction in tax liability if you are a hedge fund manager living in the Virgin Islands.
I wonder how that got in there.
Oh, wow. Dude.
It goes to show, I think, with this whole Epstein thing, I think some of the conversations that's happened is it's turned into like political football, like whose guys are implicated in the files.
Bro,
Republicans are like,
fucking take them all.
Yeah, I saw a TikTok and a guy was saying on Fox News, they were talking about how there's Democrats in the files. And he's like, we don't give a fuck if there's Democrats or Republicans in the files. We want to see everybody who's in these files.
Yes.
It doesn't, I don't care who you are. If you're in the files, if you're hanging around Jeffrey Epstein, if you're doing what he's doing with young women, we want to see your name exposed. It's not about right or left. It's about right and wrong. And ultimately, I think a lot of the time, people are missing the fact that this is a class conversation as well.
Yeah.
There's a class angle to it because Jeffrey Epstein very clearly targeted young women who were economically precarious. He targeted women coming from high schools who were underfunded, right? And he lured them in with money initially, saying, I'll give you $200, I'll give you $300. And there's stories I was reading, listening to a book on the topic, and there was a story of a young woman who was using the money to get Christmas gifts for her family, right? So these are women that are needing the money to just live, right? Wow. And so he's preying on that. And then also, not only is he giving them money to come and do what they were doing, he's luring them with career opportunities and networking. And he was working with a designer in France to kind of give them opportunities in fashion. And so he's using his exorbitant amount of wealth that we don't know we don't know how he got this money, right? But he's clearly using his wealth in a way that's really exploitative, and that's kind of what capitalists do across the board, right? Like, it's something that we realize is inherent to the system of capitalism, is exploitation,
right?
And so this is just another example of how someone with capitalist connections who is using it to, fund and pay off people in the government, presidents, executives, people who are having influence in policy. He's using his money to influence them, and he's also using that money to keep himself out of trouble after he's exploited people. He's kind of exposing the fact that even the criminal justice system is defending capital, and it's not defending the innocent women. It took decades upon decades, and there was crazy plea deals that he was able to get in the early 2000s to allow him to serve less than 2 years in prison. And he's even getting a chance to go back to his house during the day and continue to work and continue to traffic women, but then just go back and sleep in the jail. And when there's mountains and mountains of evidence that he should be locked up for the rest of his life, he's able to use his influence and his money to get a sweetheart deal. And there's a lot of conspiracies around why that happened. Is there connections to intelligence and other things of that nature? But what we do know is that he used his money and his connections to capitalism to abuse women, and to keep his ass out of jail.
And bro, you know what it really makes me think of at the end of the day is Jeffrey Epstein is really the perfect microcosm of the system of capitalism in general, the system of global capital that does exactly what you just described. It's like Jeffrey Epstein could just be an analogy or that we use to tell the story of capitalism, right? He exploits the weak, the vulnerable, the people who are poor. He exploits them for his own gain, implicates other people, employs, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Espionage style tactics in order to prop himself up and to get away with stuff that he shouldn't be able to get away with. Even when he's caught red-handed, it's like it's crazy the amount of classified files that we now have from the CIA, from all kinds of stuff in the past. It's not conspiracy theory anymore. We know about coups and different things like that they've attempted. I remember a clip from John Bolton talking one time, or he's like, well, no, that's not a coup. He's like, I've done some coups. This is not a coup. About like January 6th.
Yeah.
It's like, do you guys hear him right now? But it's like, it couldn't be any more obvious.
Right.
Like, I'm actually putting a Substack article this week about how the Pentecostal and Protestant movements exploded in South America, specifically because they were a CIA psyop to stop liberation theology, that the CIA was funding U.S. missions organizations because they wanted to pump in a kind of Christianity that caused you to focus more on your internal self than on external political things.
Yeah.
I mean, and like these documents are all out there to prove this.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. Like, we can know everything about Jeffrey Epstein. Like, you know what crazy? Here's the question. Well, what happens when these files leak?
Exactly.
Nothing. You want to know how we know? We just had 30,000 of them leak.
We have, there's some people that have stepped down and, are embarrassed and give their apologies. Even Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
Like, you remember the situation that happened with him in Virginia? Yeah. Like, he got on camera and did an interview thinking he was going to be able to clear his name. But he's so brazen and knows he will not be held accountable that he arrogantly gets on and tries to defend the indefensible and makes himself look like a fucking idiot. But he also knows, hey, nothing's going to happen to me.
It's like, people are like, well, what if Trump is named in the Epstein Files? Guys, he was named 1,300 times in this last leak that just came out, and nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody gives a shit about it at all. And anything negative in there, people just say it didn't happen. They just laugh it off, joke it off. I saw somebody was debating Michael Knowles, and it came up the whole like Bubba blowing Bubba thing with like Trump and Clinton. And Michael Knowles was just like, well, I don't think that Trump is or that Trump is Bill Clinton's kind of guy.
Some bullshit. I saw Tucker Carlson say, I think it was probably a little bit after the election when they were first talking about the files. He said, I just don't think Trump is a PDF file. I just don't feel it. I just don't feel it.
Don't feel it in my bones.
What the fuck does that mean?
Bro, he's like, oh, you're going to trust Jeffrey Epstein? So that's what it is. If anybody is implicated that they don't want to be implicated, they'll just say, oh, you trust Jeffrey Epstein said that? You trust him? Oh, you trust the word of a PDF file?
And then Megyn Kelly came out the other day and said, well, these women were,
God,
15, bro. 16. He's not really a PDF.
Someone locked that woman up, dude.
He's not really a PDF because the women, they're past puberty. So it can't be PDF. What the fuck are we talking about?
Dude.
Do these people have brain damage? Like, where have we come to as a society?
They are sick and disgusting.
That people are willing to defend the indefensible in order to save face with a person who doesn't give a shit about them. Trump, like, do y'all know, this man does not care about you.
Right.
He will exploit you. He will lie to your face. He will cut your benefits. He's cutting a lot of y'all's health care. He does not care about you. So why are you defending this man? It's like he's hypnotized them or something.
Bro, it's crazy. And then they're setting the stage, right? Like you just said, Megyn Kelly's like, well, these people aren't PDF files because these weren't 8-year-olds. These were 15-year-olds, barely, she says, these were barely legal types. Like 15-year-olds. 15 is not barely legal, you dumb bitch.
Jesus Christ.
15 is not even barely illegal. It is very illegal.
And a 50-year-old man with a 18-year-old is also suspect.
But bro, she goes, it's not a PDF file. These aren't 8-year-olds. She goes, they're 15-year-olds that look younger, but barely legal 15-year-olds that look. Okay, so what is a guy if he likes hooking up with barely legal 15-year-olds who look younger? Come on, man.
There's some sanity in the world. Even some, like we said, some of Trump's base is turning on. I don't know if they're doing it for sane reasons, but there's even people over there that are like, all right, you've crossed the line. Even Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens, they're like, hey, this is too far.
Yeah.
We cannot defend this. Trump, if you're in the files, we need to know. But again, what are they going to do? If they came out tomorrow that Trump was in the Epstein files and he was very clearly implicated, they had video, HD footage.
Yeah.
Is Congress going to impeach him? No. Do you think they're going to impeach? They would impeach him?
No, of course not.
So what is going to happen?
Bro, they won't even impeach. They won't even impeach him after the midterms if the Democrats win the House and the Senate. They won't do it.
So what type of country do we live in where the President of the United States could be implicated in the most heinous crimes? I mean, he's already a convicted felon, right? We have a country that is so bereft of morality.
Yeah.
That is so disgustingly immoral.
Yeah, bro.
That they're defending a convicted felon who hung out with a PDF file. Who said? He said Jeffrey Epstein. He was quoted and said, "Jeffrey's a cool guy. He likes young women like I do.
Yeah.
Some of them are pretty young." He said this out his own mouth. I just don't understand. I'm ranting because it defies logic.
Okay, bro. So you said something I want to talk about. About how Candace and Nick Fuentes and
Marjorie Taylor Greene as well.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yep.
There's like a segment of people speaking out against Trump. What's the main one's name that Fuentes went on the show?
Oh, Tucker.
Tucker.
Yep.
So here's why I think that's happening. Did you say Rokana? That's wild, bro.
Cut that out.
Straight shots at you, Rokana. Yo, was that prophetic?
I hope not.
What do we need to know about you, bro?
We're going to find out something, and then they're going to come back and say, you heard it on Ask the Next Question. Allegedly. I didn't mean it.
I have a hot take and a theory about why that's happening, why they're doing that. Yeah. I think there's like a segment of right-wing people who appeal to that broader MAGA coalition that could also in the right, the base of Republicans are going to vote for the Republicans no matter what.
Right.
That MAGA coalition who might have been non-voters or might have even voted Democrat in previous elections. That's who they need to go after. So there's this broad base, and I think there's this broad group of people in that movement that are on the outskirts. They're not being embraced by Trump right now because they're maybe moving in a slightly different direction. And I think that and that's like the Candaces, the Fuenteses, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Carlsons. Yeah. I think they're preparing to capture that energy and that momentum to fill that void once Trump is out of office.
Yeah.
And they're angling and position themselves to be this strong. So because here's what I do think is gonna be true. Once Trump is no longer in office, right? That protective wall, especially once he DIEs, right? That protective covering that he has will start to wane and slip because there's nothing at stake anymore, and people start to admit to it, right? Just like people like me, I was like all Obama. I was all pro Obama. Once Obama wasn't in office anymore, I started to open my eyes and see a lot of the problems with Obama: the drone striking, the wars, the deporter in chief, the fascist healthcare system that is Obamacare, pretending that it's actually a socialist healthcare system when it's a right-wing policy. I was able to see all that stuff. I think that's going to happen. And so they're positioning themselves to still be the people that uphold all the original stuff that they liked in Trump, but to say like, oh, we saw that and we pivoted.
From him,
so they're like ahead of the curve a little bit.
That's smart.
And I think Tuckerson. That's what we'll call Tucker Carlson from here on out. Tuckerson. I think Tuckerson is like probably the main guy in charge because it's not going to be JD. Like they got nobody in the camp, in the official Trump camp.
Yeah, they're all out of there.
They got nobody in the official camp that can run.
Think it's going to be Stephen Miller.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right. Get out of here.
But I think Tucker Carlson is probably the guy that will probably step in and fill that space. I could see him running.
Yeah, I think they're already kind of treating Trump a little bit like a lame duck.
Yeah.
Because he is, he's in power, but the more they angle away from him, the less of a stronghold he has. All he can do is just blow V8 on X. And
because I think, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think like Bannon, like he's really trying to do this third term thing, and like I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Yeah. I think it probably won't happen. But let's say it did happen. Well, then it doesn't matter that they bet their chips. Like the ball game is over at that point.
Right.
Like our democracy is already over. We don't have a democracy.
The facade will be gone.
The facade of the democracy will be completely gone. Right. Like you won't be able. It'll be almost impossible to uphold any of the stuff. Things will start to get really freaking bad. Yep. People will flee the country. I'm here for as long as I need to be, but I do constantly have the thought in the back of my mind, like, when do I need to buy one of these $1 villages in Italy? You know what I'm saying? You see they got these like villages?
What are you talking
They got whole villages in Italy you could buy at like each house for $1.
Why?
Because nobody lives there. And they need people to come like rehab it. I'm all the time thinking about starting a cult and taking everybody to Italy.
They're going to take us as refugees?
They want you to come.
Okay. I need to look into that.
I'm pretty sure there are programs in most of those countries too will pay you to come learn the language, teach certain things, and to like revitalize some of these small towns. They desperately need people.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess for me, I'm trying to think through like on a personal level, and for people watching, like how should we respond to whatever drops from the Epstein Files? And
I mean, there's only so much we can do. I think we should talk about it, like I said earlier, as a microcosm of the broader system of global capital, because it really is the perfect picture. And so we can use it maybe as an example or an analogy to talk about the way capitalism works. But to me, like, if it doesn't serve the purpose of, because it's like, oh, well, there are real victims in the Epstein case. It's not just like a joke thing to talk about.
Exactly.
But this at scale, like just the system of global capitalism, like, do you know how, like, we can't even fathom how many people are being, trafficked around the world because of capitalism, how many people are being unalived in the Sudan right now, how many sexual assaults, SAs are happening. And I think about, like, even in the Congo, to mine coltan, like, these people out here mining in bare feet in still water for hours and hours, and if they stop, they get SA'd. You know what I mean? So it's like, Epstein, insane. Really bad, real victims, like serious problem. Yeah. But like, what
are the lessons we're going to take from it?
Steve Jobs and Apple over here making cell phones, all our computers, every single thing we're using being mined with minerals that are being enforced through slave labor, where literal SA is the way that they enforce to make sure we can get our cheap shit. Yeah. And I feel like, to me, until we can actually grapple with that, bro, I'm always thinking like, how can we communicate to people what's at stake? The difference between a leftist and a liberal, and the term leftist at this point, like, it's broad enough and that it's useful because people just don't know enough to know which other term to use. Am I a Marxist? Am I a Marxist-Leninist? Am I a Maoist? Am I this or am I that? Yep. And so like saying you're a leftist overall, but like for me, being a leftist starts with anti-capitalism, anti-US imperialism. Yeah. And so how do we communicate to people, bro? And I'm curious to hear what you think. Like, what frustrates me so much with the state of like leftist content is how much of it is just stupid drama. When it's like, there actually are a lot of leftist creators online. They're doing phenomenal education. But a lot of that education that's phenomenal that I see is focused on helping people already kind of see things our way, understand it better. But I do think there's a lot of good people like me who I was like a lib. I was like a sold out, proud Democrat, excited about being a Democrat. But what it took was just somebody showing me, somebody teaching me how Democrats and liberals have nothing to say about all that shit that I was just talking about in the Congo, in the Sudan, and all these places around the world, about how to end those people's suffering without collapsing our economy.
I think it's a matter of, what do you care about? What are your priorities? I know for me, I was never a excited Democrat. I was more just like, I'm never going to be a Republican. Yeah. So this is kind of my default position. But I think what it took for me was just like having someone explain, these are the principles of the system that we live under. Yeah. And understanding the nature of capitalism first, and understanding the history of capitalist exploitation and imperialism. And once I kind of started to see and make connections between how capitalism is exploiting us here and how it's exploited folks overseas and the incentive structure behind it, I started to realize, wait, on a personal level, this doesn't seem to be working because things are getting more expensive and our wages aren't going up. Historically, understanding, in order for us to get the technology we've had to go overseas and exploit the raw materials in other countries. And so I started to say, well, this isn't right. Like one of my core values is justice. And this seems like an injustice. But once you start to understand that the system is built on injustice and capitalism is that system, then if a Democrat is defending capitalism, I just, it doesn't compute to me anymore. Why are you, if you're for gay marriage, if you're for social justice in the States, if you're for people having a living wage, if you're for universal health care, it's not good enough if the systems that are preventing us from having these things are still in place.
Yeah.
So once I started to kind of like interrogate the system behind the political reality, I started to be like, actually, I can't be a capitalist, right? Like, and if you all are defending that system,
right?
How are we actually going to move forward? And I understand that reform versus revolution, and we've talked about that before. But I've started to be unconvinced that reforming capitalism was going to work, and the ways people would try to defend capitalism kind of fell apart. Like, you say, oh, it's created all this wealth, it's the best system out of all the bad systems, blah blah blah. But I'm like, well, as I read more, I was like, this isn't just, yes, all those things can be true to an extent, but if you continue to allow the system to play out, you increase the contradictions, and you have monopolies at the end of the day. And it just, as I look around in the world, I'm like, this is what I see. So this seems to be true. Yeah,
it increased like our quality of life at the expense of the destabilization of most of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And the wealth extraction and theft from countries all around the world. But yeah, bro, I don't know. Like, it just it stresses me out, because I try to think, like, what's the best way to communicate exactly what you said to people? Because I feel like it's just got to be done in real simple language to make them see the connection between how you cannot continue the system of capitalism as it is, without like being responsible for atrocities around the world.
Yeah. I think it has to start with where people are and the pain that people are feeling. Because that's what people are living in their day-to-day lives. Like, hey, in the past 5 years, even since COVID, inflation has gone through the roof. People even notice pre-COVID and post-COVID, things are increasingly more unaffordable than they have been. So it's a perfect opportunity to explain to people, hey, there's a reason why this is happening. There's the greatest wealth transfer in the history of the nation that happened during COVID. And then you can start to interrogate other things, like even AI, which is something that I've been following for a while, is an entry point for people. Because the reason why AI is being invested in, the companies say, is because they want to replace workers. OpenAI has a contract with Microsoft saying that their definition of AGI is predicated on them being able to replace economically valuable work. You can look at that and say, this is very much a threat to you as a worker. And AI is just running on the incentives of capitalism, which is, how can we get the most profits for the least amount of money? And we've been exploiting labor, but now we're going to do away with labor as much as we can to increase our profits. So these are just like entry points into the conversation that I think people could resonate with. But it's hard, because we've been indoctrinated for the past 100 years to hear socialism. There's even a resolution. Did you see that from the Democrats to condemn socialism?
On the same day that Mom Donnie is in the White House and Trump is gobbling socialism. They said, oh, we're not going to condemn fascism. We're not going to condemn genocide, but we're going to condemn socialism. Zora Mamdani, we're looking at you. We're condemning it. Okay. Bro, I was watching. I was thinking of that. There's a Kendrick bar where he's like, gobble his dick up till he hiccups, bitch, call me corrupt. And I was like, oh, this feels like perfect for this moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, bro. For a long time, I thought I was like a leftist as I was becoming more of a Bernie bro. And I would hear some people be like, well, Bernie's not really a leftist. I'm like, how is he not a leftist? He wants universal health care. He wants free college. He wants a federal jobs program. All things that I like. But what I didn't understand is those are all just reforms within capitalism, giving us like some nicer things, right? It'd be like saying like, oh, if somebody supports having a public highway system, that they're a socialist. No, like just because you support some, he still supports and wants to rehab the system of global capitalism that causes the devastating impacts of imperialism around the world. By the way, like Lenin, from my understanding, when he talked about imperialism, he's like, imperialism isn't something that like Rome did or that other countries did. It's a specific stage of economic development within capitalism in which capitalism can no longer exist in your country on its own, and you have to start reaching out out and exploiting other countries in order to be able to bring stuff in. And that's why like the whole CIA, MI5, all that, the only purpose of those organizations throughout history has essentially been to stop communism. We were watching, you ever see this show, Slow Horses? It's a great show on Apple TV. It's a spy show with Gary Oldman. And at the end of the last season finale, they stopped like this Libyan group that's trying to get payback on MI5 for what they did in Libya, destabilizing their country, yada yada. And like the grandfather, he's like talking to the grandson. The grandson is like in the MI5 now. The grandfather used to be. He's retired. He's got Alzheimer's. He's like, oh yeah, Libya, that makes sense. He's like, yeah, what we did to them was pretty fucked up, but if we didn't do it, they would have gone red.
Jesus
like he just
Christ.
says it like that, and like, it was like a throwaway comment, like they moved on. But I was like, babe, did you catch that? Like that's like the whole thing. Like the Western intelligence agencies go around the world just trying to stop communism from sprouting up because they serve who? Capital. Yeah. So think about how many dictators the CIA on record has put in all around the world. How many coups we've started. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, I want to say something right now, but I can't because there's a relation to one of our, I'm going to say it and we'll cut it out. Maybe we'll keep it. Like, I had a neighbor the other day tell me, like, oh, yeah, my wife's dad, did you know, they're from Iran. You know, her dad was the minister of justice under the Shah in Iran. And I was like, oh, fuck, because the Shah was like the brutal dictator the U.S. put in, right? To prop things up, they were killing people. He goes, his only job was to help people. That's all his job was just to help people. I was like, oh, god damn. I'm trying to be friendly to y'all. That's tough. Cut this part.
Yeah, we can clap and cut it out. Yeah, no, it's crazy. I think I'll play devil's advocate for a second, and I'm playing devil's advocate, okay? I'm not saying I believe this, right? But the government, would they not say that the reason why they want to stop communism is because of, at least during the Cold War, is because they are in a strategic war, a Cold War with Russia, and if Russia gains enough influence and power, that's a threat to the United States.
Yeah, bro, that's fucked up. You really believe that?
Don't put that on me. But I think some people, like when they hear you say that, that's what they're...
Yeah, that's what I would have thought at a certain time too.
Exactly.
You know, this, as Carl Lentz would say, this just comes down to basic IQ. That's an inside joke. Yeah. But so... well, the threat of what? What was the threat that the USSR imposed?
I guess it's communism.
Food for everybody, tripling the life expectancy of your nation overnight, like they did from Tsarist Russia. All of a sudden, having housing and healthcare and work everywhere. Everyone had a job. That's the threat that they're trying to keep from you. Oh yeah, because why? It hurt the capitalists.
What about Stalin?
Right, yeah. Well, Stalin's a different story. We talk about Stalin later. But
Fuentes like Stalin.
Yeah, Fuentes like Stalin. You know, Bannon like Stalin. You know, so, but like at the end of the day, like, yeah, there, you know, all of the evils you could put on, you know, communism, people dying, like there have been so many famines around the world that happen as a result of capitalism that we just don't feel and experience because we don't talk about them, and they happen in countries that we were exploiting or destabilizing. Yeah,
the interesting thing to me is that the U.S. always has a boogeyman of Russia and China, and I wonder what you think about this. So it seems like the United States, because it is a capitalist nation, they have to do imperialism, to your point, to expand the reach of capital. But if a communist nation is also an empire of sorts, right? So let's take, for instance, China, which is the current boogeyman of the United States. What is the difference between their influence overseas? Because they're also going into places like Africa and exerting their influence, and the way the United States is kind of going in and going into these countries and doing.
Well, the United States has 800 and something military installations and foreign bases on other countries, and that's how we do it. We do it by propping up client states like the UAE so they can fund genocides or G-sides in the Sudan, right? China so far seems to be doing it by going into African countries and giving them billions of dollars to build up their infrastructure without extracting anything from them, and then maybe hoping to build relationships from there.
Yeah.
And I think that they have to do that because they realize, like, the reason why U.S. has imperialism is because capitalism can't stand on its own in one country. It has to be a global system.
Right.
And this is just why Lenin and you know, Marxist-Leninist theory tells us that the socialist revolution has to be an international proletarian revolution. It can't happen in just one country. You might be able to start it like that, but, you know, eventually, in order for China to be able to exist and continue to grow, it has to have trading partners.
Yeah.
It has to have things like that. It has to have people that they're in business with. And you can either do that through domination, which is what capitalism does, or you can do it through the spirit of mutual cooperation, which is what communism does.
Yeah. So it's almost like they think that the capitalists would say in America that they almost try to insinuate, because this is the justification even for there's an alien documentary I watched this weekend, and they were talking about, again, China being the boogeyman. China and Russia, they have their own alien extractor or re-engineering programs or reverse engineering programs for alien craft. And so we have to make sure that we're ahead of the game, because if they get ahead of us, then something bad is going to happen. They never explain what that bad thing is. And so I think I'm starting to realize the bad thing is not that they're just going to come in and attack us. That's what we would do.
Yeah.
That's what we, the imperialist nation, would want to do. They would just exert their influence in other nations, and they wouldn't be able to be fucked with by us.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between us attacking them and they're projecting what we would do to them if we have more power.
They might be able to influence. They might be able to influence more other countries.
Right.
You know, I mean, like the U.S. cares a lot about. They lost Cuba, and they were like, we're not doing this again.
Yeah.
Right. Never again did like a South American country have the opportunity that Cuba had to have that kind of a revolution in the same way without U.S. intervention at a much more dramatic scale.
Yeah.
But when I think about, you know, what would happen if China like did that, here's what's crazy. And here's how we know who our true masters are in the United States. Is, let's say, this is all hypothetical, okay? Hypothetical, right?
Okay.
Let's say there was somebody who wanted the U.S. to have a communist revolution.
Yeah.
Because they love America and they love their fellow Americans, and they believe that that's an economic system that would benefit Americans more and make us a better citizen of the global community, right? And so they were excited about maybe China developing the alien technology faster, or China developing, growing without alien technology, and being able to actually make an impact and influence the United States. You know, that would be looked at as treason. Somebody who believed that would have to be afraid of saying it on their podcast, right? Because that could be looked at as like you're an enemy of the state. Right. But in fact, did they say anything that made them that talked about disliking America, disliking their citizens, disliking America? No. Who is that? Who is the person that person is threatening with those hopes? The capitalists.
Right. Right.
Those are the only people who would lose out on who would lose out on a communist revolution in America? The United States of America? No, the capitalists.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We're so indoctrinated, and we're so the whatever the opposite of class consciousness is. The opposite of that you get online and you say that to the average person, and they will get on defending the capitalists when they have no capital.
Right, but they would just say it as defending America.
Right.
But it's like, if I want the best for America because I want a communist revolution in America, then I'm being seditious, or I'm being treasonous. But I'm not being treasonous or seditionist or un-American towards America. I'm being that way towards the capitalists.
Right.
But when we say that, so who am I actually not allowed to critique, and who actually am I not allowed to overthrow in America? Well, I actually can be okay with overthrowing America if I'm fucking Peter Thiel.
Right.
If I'm Curtis Yarvin. If I'm one of these capitalist monsters that talking about Steve Bannon publicly saying, I want to bring down the whole system and replace it with something new. That's not treasonous. But saying, I want to get the capitalists out of here so America can truly be great, that's treason? Come on, man. You ain't playing me. I'm from the streets.
He's spitting, folks. He's spitting. But that's real, and I think this is the disconnect that people don't have. That people have, is that America is not synonymous with capitalism, but people think it is. I mean, well, I guess I understand why people say that, but it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. The spirit of America is a spirit of freedom. And guess what?
It should be. And we can make
it. The theoretical spirit of America.
The aspirational spirit of America.
Is the spirit of freedom and democracy. And what socialism wants, the aspiration is a more universal application of democracy.
Right.
You go to work, you are not going to work under a democratic system.
Right.
You're going to work under a capitalist and I don't know, a dictatorial system. The CEO is the dictator. They tell you what to do. They work for the shareholders, and you do what they say, or else you're on the streets.
That's right.
If you live in a democratic working system, then the people get to have a say and an ownership over what happens in the workplace. And this was a big unlock for me listening to Richard Wolff and his Democracy at Work. And it was just a very practical analogy. Not saying he doesn't necessarily talk about the political philosophy outside of that, but just that very practical application of democracy at work and how we realize that we value freedom and democracy in America. We're supposed to, but you go to work and you don't have freedom and democracy.
That's right.
And your work is where you spend most of your life.
Yeah.
Your work is where you're deciding whether you're going to have health care or not.
Yeah.
If you don't go to work, you're going to probably not have a place to stay.
Yeah.
So this is actually the most fundamental place where democracy should be applied.
That's exactly
right.
But
it's not.
That's exactly right. We are held subject to private, unaccountable concentrations of wealth, and they get to control everything about your life.
Yeah.
You know who understands this better than anybody else? People who sell people entrepreneurship courses.
That's right.
They actually they have the best critique of capital out there,
but their
solution is become a capitalist, right?
Yep.
I remember listening to this is years ago. Dame Dash was on the Breakfast Club.
Oh no!
And they were talking about they were calling him out because he was talking about you're a loser if you work a job, and DJ Envy is talking about you can and DJ Envy just Dame says, if you're a grown man and you have to ask another grown man if you can use the potty. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what it is. These corporations, they tell you what you have to wear. They tell you when you get to eat.
Yeah.
They tell you when you can go to the bathroom a lot of the times. They tell you what kind of clothes you have to wear, what kind of school your kids get to go to, what kind of quality of life they get to live.
Yep.
They tell you all of that.
Yep.
They control your life. That's what they're afraid of happening in a socialist country.
Brainwash.
In a socialist country, they're going to tell you they're going to control everything about your life. But your boss controlled everything about your life.
But you can work for another boss who will also control your life.
Come on, right?
I also don't understand, like a Dame Dash, if another grown man can tell you when to use the bathroom, then you're not a man. Do you work for yourself? Do you not have employees?
Right.
So you're just emasculating all your employees?
Dude, bro, yes, that's exactly right? And they just don't get that. But yeah, that is the greatest tyranny in the world is the private corporation. And they exercise way more control over your life than any communist dictatorship ever has over the people in their life. All those things I just said, your boss basically controls everything about your life, the company you work for, and now we have precarious employment, so your job isn't even secured, it's not even settled. They might go you tomorrow.
Yep. And we've just normalized it. It's normalized. People are saying critiques about Charlie Kirk on TikTok and they losing their job.
Yes.
You don't even have freedom in your social media.
Yeah.
You can't get on the internet and say anything necessarily and expect to have a job. We're so controlled.
Yeah.
And now even going back to AI, a lot of the frustrating conversation that I'm hearing around the loss of jobs is, you just need to be an entrepreneur then. This is a great opportunity for business owners. There's going to be a one-man billion-dollar company coming up with the use of AI. First of all, we don't have enough opportunity for everybody to be an entrepreneur. Most businesses fail.
Right.
Most businesses fail. So if everybody has to become an entrepreneur, only 20% of businesses fail. That means 80% of the population is not going to have any opportunity to make any money because most businesses fail. Also, where's the demand going to come from?
Right.
Also, where's the capital to start a business going to come from?
It's so fucking stupid.
Who is listening to this?
No.
Who believes this stuff?
It's so dumb.
If anybody is telling you online that becoming an entrepreneur is the key to freedom, it may work for them, but just know they're selling you a bill of goods. There's another way.
Yeah, I like to say it like this. It could work for anyone.
Right. But it can't work for everyone.
For everyone.
It's just a pyramid scheme at the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
And you see the same thing, and we're in the content world, but I love making content, but at the end of the day, if everybody was forced to be a content creator, the chances of anyone being successful will go down a lot. So we need people to have jobs. That's just the way it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, and we want people to have jobs to be able to live a dignified life. You know what I mean? Bro, like at the end of the day, they're still going to hit you with, well, show me one. My favorite question: show me one country where socialism has worked.
They commented that on my TikTok anytime I mention it.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what I say? Every fucking country that it's ever happened in, it fucking worked. Why do you think the U.S. has to go in and place embargoes on them to stop it from succeeding?
Great point.
In the face of the embargoes, it works.
Yeah.
Higher literacy rates often than the U.S. Like Cuba has a higher literacy rate than the United States.
Yeah,
right?
I know that.
Their life expectancy shoots through the roof under socialism.
Yeah.
Housing shoots through the roof under socialism. But let one country try to actually have a revolution, not against America, not declaring war on anybody, just saying, hey, we want to reject capitalism, because that could show an example. By the way, the U.S. done fucked up by letting China get this far, because there's the other big dog example. Show me one country where socialism has ever worked. Have you seen China?
They're capitalists though, right?
Well, that's what they might want you to think. But, and we talked about this in previous episodes, but I can say it again. They don't understand that, Marx wasn't just capitalism bad, socialism good. Marx was looking at the dynamics of history, right, through a Hegelian lens, but looking at it at the material world, going everything, and that Hegelian dialectics is basically everything contains its opposite, right? That if you have this conversation, you go back and forth and you change into a spiral into a new place. So what he's saying is capitalism came out of feudalism, which came out of agrarian societies, and each of these are necessary stages of development. Marx didn't think, we should have never done capitalism. He thought capitalism is a necessary stage of economic development, leading us into industrialization.
So important.
Just like agrarian morphed into feudal, just like feudal morphed into capitalism, eventually capitalism would reach a point where it doesn't really work anymore, and it would morph into socialism, which is the transitionary period between capitalism and communism. That's where China is right now. They have a controlled market economy as they move into the industrial age, and look at how much more efficient that socialist model of a controlled capitalist economy is actually working at propelling them into the future. People who went to China 10 years ago go back now, they're like, what the happened to this place? Where they're going to be in 10, 15 years from now, they have plans for everything. They're thinking long term, whereas in America, we think next quarter. Insane. Literally all we think is next quarter, because we've financialized our companies so much that they just want to get out of there. Right? People are like, well, business owners hold all this risk because they hold the company. If the company goes under, they go under. No, they just declare bankruptcy in that business and then they move on. But hope that the risk is that they have to do that before they were able to pull the rug out from everyone else and exit. And guess what the successful ones do? They exit. You know what I mean?
We're holding on. The country is holding on by a string for these capitalists. Like the NVIDIA earnings call happened a few days ago, and everybody's holding on with bated breath. We got to make sure NVIDIA's earnings projections are as good as we hope, because if not, then the economy this may be a dark sign in the economy. And we were looking at Peter Thiel removed his investments from NVIDIA, and the AI bubble is a big issue. But their earnings came out, it looked good, so we're like, whew, sigh of relief. Like our country is hanging in the balance because of freaking tech companies that are holding our economy together. What type of bullshit is that? These companies are investing in one another, doing a circle jerk
on its own.
And that's the only thing that's keeping the economy going is NVIDIA circle jerking, OpenAI circle jerking, Microsoft, Anthropic, Amazon. They're all throwing money at each other and taking money back. And they're not actually building anything profitable yet. But that's the thing that's keeping our economy going right
100%.
now. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, the system is already falling apart, and we're just kind of watching the body of it decay. And that's why the crazy people on the right, they see this and they're angling for a new system. That's why Bannon wants to crash it to the ground. That's why Peter Thiel and them want to build,
whatever they want to build.
What do they call it? Corporate monarchies.
Jesus Christ.
Right? And so, they're angling to buy Greenland, you know what I mean? So they can establish they're doing it in Guatemala right now. Guatemala's trying to kick them out.
What's going on over there?
I think it's Guatemala. They sold there was the government that had been in place sold like a section of Guatemala to these capitalists so they could create like a libertarian paradise city where they can do anything they want. And these people are over there, they're getting like implants, electronic implants put in their bodies and stuff. And they're doing all this experimentation because it's basically a zone where it's their own little country. They can do whatever they want. Now there's a new country, new government in place, and they're trying to kick them out, saying, hey, we don't want you anymore. Now they're suing them. Okay. Well, you can't violate that contract.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Well, we're still talking about CEOs. Let's transition to the next topic. I was watching a TikTok of a CEO who was working with, she works with Grant Cardone, and she was on the Diary of a CEO, which is a popular podcast.
Wait, she's a CEO, but she works with Grant Cardone? What does that mean?
I think she's like, she has a company that is in partnership with Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
But she explained it in in this podcast, but not in this clip.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's having a conversation with Stephen Bartlett, and there was a controversy that kind of came up around her firing one of her employees for cheating on their relationship. So let's watch the clip and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
One of the things I've gotten so much criticism of online was when I publicly shared a TikTok about firing somebody because I found out that she was cheating on her significant other, and the other person also had a significant other. And as soon as I found out about it, I terminated both of them immediately.
Wait, someone was cheating with someone in the company?
Yeah.
Oh, and they both had partners?
Both had partners outside of the company. As soon as I caught wind of it, it wasn't even like a split-second decision. I can't have this in my environment, especially somebody close around me. People trust me and should trust any leader to help them make their success easy.
One would say that's none of your business what they're doing when they go home.
Not to get into specifics of the particular event, but it happened to be around work.
But if it wasn't at work, you still wouldn't.
Even if it was, I would fire the person immediately.
So you'd fire someone for cheating?
If they're going to cheat on the person that they're supposed to spend the rest of their life with, do you think that they're cheating on their work? That person is a liability to the environment.
People have things in their personal life which are very different to the way that they show up professionally, though. People do all kinds of things in their personal life.
It's terrifying.
I don't consider that to be my business.
Oh, it's absolutely my business. If somebody has a problem in their personal life, they're the same person that shows up to work.
Listen, the way that I see it is if I expand the scope of my concerns, I'm going to get fucking nothing done. I don't want to be the government of your fucking personal situations as well. As long as it doesn't show up in the office.
I can't bifurcate and put in two separate buckets what somebody is doing at home and think that what they're doing at home and the confusion and the distraction isn't going to bleed over into our environment. And I would be willing to bet, and curious on your perspective of this, those people that you found out where there are different situations and different problems in their personal life, they actually do show up in their work.
Okay, so this is an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And it ties back into the conversation that we're having a little bit earlier about how employers have a lot of control over their employees. So that's where my mind went first when I saw this video, because I looked at the comments and everybody was like, yeah, this is great. Cheater should be fired, blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
she's like, let me tell you who you can and can't fuck.
Yeah, I'm like, I got you. Like cheating is, well, we got to say this first because I'm going to be the devil's advocate. The devil doesn't need any more advocates, but cheating is wrong, full stop. Okay, like, I think we both agree with that. I think society at large, well, maybe not, but I think most people can agree that cheating is wrong. And I think even the isolated situation that she described at the beginning of the video makes sense to me. Like if you're an executive or you're a CEO and you're working closely with someone and they're having an affair with somebody else at the company and you catch wind of it, yeah, you should be fired. But then she goes on, because Stephen Bartlett pushes back and is like, hey, well, I don't think I should be concerning myself with what's going on in people's personal lives. And she's like, no, I care very much about what's going on in people's personal lives because that is going to affect them at work. And I care about that because it's going to change how they show up.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very dangerous sentiment to have as an employer. But it seemed like everybody was on board with it. So I don't know. What do you think?
I got mixed feelings.
Okay.
By the way, I just want to say it wasn't Guatemala, it's Honduras.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, Honduras. Okay. So I got mixed feelings because I do kind of relate, like, even if they weren't, wasn't with somebody else at the company and it wasn't at the other job, and it didn't happen at the job or anything like that, it does make me think, I wouldn't do this for any employee.
Sure.
But let's say we're trying to build something.
Sure.
and this could even be a company, it could be like a political movement, and I find out like a key person or organization not only had an affair, but has been having an affair on their wife, being duplicitous. Like, because I find out, what does it show me? They're duplicitous,
Yes.
they lie, they cheat, they are willing to wound and hurt the people who rely on them and depend on them, right? That would start to make me paranoid, like, can I trust this person?
Yeah.
Can our movement trust this person?
Yeah.
So I do start to think about it like that a little bit, but I'm also hesitant always to, when I think about like just an employer having like power over their people like that, right. I think to me it'd be like more of a nuanced conversation. Although I'm also a little, as the child of like both my parents cheated on each other at different points in my life as a child.
Yeah. So see the pain that brings.
Yeah, I might not even be able to like think about it as clearly.
No, that makes sense.
But what do you think about that? What do you think?
I think there's a very narrow set of circumstances under which this makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I think the situation you described, where you're in an organization and there's someone that's in a key position, that's not just they cheated, but they are living a life of duplicity, they're lying, they're having an affair, they're living a double life. I think that makes perfect sense to me. It's a very clear, probably a very clear indication of their character. But even then, I would say, probably, but not necessarily. But I think the thing that is hard about this conversation is people hear cheating and they think that when in reality cheating is you went to the bar and kissed somebody. Cheating could be you messed with somebody on Instagram you should have. Cheating could be you had a one-night stand. Cheating could be even you're developing an emotional relationship with somebody at work.
Cheating and affair kind of imply different things actually. Like,
but I think
they overlap, but
but I think when people hear cheating, all of these things are put in the same basket, and there's not chance for nuance. And I think when you ask for nuance, people think that you're defending any of these behaviors. And I'm not defending any of these behaviors. I'm just saying they're not the same, and not all of them are the same. You can't draw the same conclusions about someone based on.
I agree with that.
All of these categories of cheating, but I also think that there's a danger if, to your point, like an employer they decide that we're going to take interest in what you do in your personal life. Because number one, even if you think somebody's cheating, say they're in an open relationship and they don't tell you. Say you just misunderstood the situation. Say somebody lied and accused somebody of cheating and they didn't actually cheat. So you have two options in that case. One, you could fire them, but you didn't really know what was going on. Or number two, you can investigate somebody's personal life. And both of those situations to me seem like worlds I don't want to live in. And I don't want to be at a company where people are investigating into my personal life. And she seems like she wants to go even further than just cheating. She's like, I want to know everything that's going on.
She's got weird eyes. I don't know why he had this lady on. She looks like she's in a cult.
I need to do some more investigation about who this person is and what it is that she believes, because this to me seems very cultish.
It does definitely come across that way. Even with like the sensibility I had of being like, I can kind of see where it's coming from. Like no, I would definitely fire them. I wouldn't even think about it. Like you wouldn't even think about it.
That's what I'm saying.
You're gonna take the food out of their children's mouths without even thinking about it.
Everybody in the comments, I
probably, even if they were like, I probably wouldn't fire them. I'd probably just stop trusting them. Put them in a different role. Right. But I'm also thinking about, like they got kids, maybe, you know what I mean? They're cheating on somebody, they got a family.
And people feel like, and again, it's wrong, but there's such an emotional reaction to it that they feel like anything that is punitive towards the person that cheats is justified. And I think that's the problem. Like there's just, with conversations that relate to relationships online, there's never any room for nuance. That's why I never touch it on TikTok.
Bro, can you imagine being like the spouse of the person she fired and be like, thanks for making it so that they can't pay child support. That really helps me.
Right, you're just thinking about yourself. Again, it's employers thinking about, the only thing they care about is what's going to make me money. Right. You cheated. I don't care really about your character or your family or your life. I just care that, I can't trust you to make money with me. So I'm going to kick you to the curb because, hey, I have a job to do, and you know, you can't do the job as well. And that's the same. If they're going to care about what's going on in your personal life, it's not because they actually care about your personal life.
Yeah.
It's because they want to make sure that your personal life is not going to affect their business life. So why would anybody want to be in a situation where this is the dynamic that they have with their employer? Because it could go beyond cheating. You can make the case that, you know, if you're, and I hate to even bring this up, but there's some crazy right-wing CEOs out there, and maybe they decide, hey, I actually don't like that people have abortions. So if you have an abortion, that also tells me that you're a person who lacks character. I'm going to fire you, because to them that's murder. You killed somebody, and you were irresponsible. So I'm going to fire you.
I bet that happens.
You're right. I'm sure it does. Even, I mean, we both have worked in Christian environments, either churches or parachurch organizations, where this dynamic, I think this is also why I'm sensitive to the dynamic, is because I worked in a place where I felt like everything I did had weight to whether I could stay employed or not. Like whether I believe in this specific version of hell. I had a whole, I don't know if I told you this, I had a whole like controversy when I first joined the parachurch organization, because I was teetering on not believing in the traditional version of hell. And if I would have, I basically was like, I'm gonna just think what I think, and I'm just gonna tell y'all what y'all want to hear. But I had conversations with higher ups, and I think if I would have said I don't believe in eternal conscious torment, they would have fired me.
Oh, for sure. The last church I was on staff at, in a staff meeting, I said, somebody asked on staff, they were like, it's like an elderly black woman. And she'd been on staff for years. And she was like, I talked about this in a TikTok recently, but she was like, it was a staff meeting. All questions are, you know, no questions are off limits kind of thing, which all questions are off limits is like such bullshit. But she was like, how do I feel comfortable worshiping in a church when I know there's so many people here that voted for Trump, and he supports policies that make me feel unsafe, and like the lives that I have 2 young black grandsons, I feel like they're unsafe. And the pastor like didn't have a good answer. He was just like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Which, by the way, that's because he supported Trump and like he didn't know what to say in that moment. So I chimed in and I was like, well, you know, because she was like looking for an answer. Like she was like, look, she wanted somebody to respond. And I was like, well, you know, like we all, you know, have differences of opinions and differences of agreements. We can come together and we share, you know, our common love for each other and our common love for Christ. And, you know, maybe we can influence each other over time. And I was like, for example, I was like, Pastor Kent is, you know, more of a Republican, and I'm a LGBTQ affirming Marxist, and you know we work in ministry together just fine. We get along fine. That was my last staff meeting at that church.
You said too many words that they don't like. In that response, Marxist, LGBT. Whoa,
bro. We had I had a meeting with the pastor afterwards, and he was like, "Can you tell like, what does it mean to be an LGBTQ affirming Marxist? What does that mean?" I was like, you don't know what it means. You don't know what any of those things are. He knew what they were.
You sure? I would be convinced that he didn't know what they were.
He knew what they were.
He was just playing.
He's young,
Oh, okay, he's playing. Yeah, but it just goes back to the point where like I'd never want to work again in an environment where what I do in my personal life
that's a good
is
point.
completely connected to whether I can have a job or not. Right? Like there's lines. There's a reason why we got HR departments. There's a reason why there's a separation between your work life and your personal life.
Sure.
And even I think the harder conversation is that there are some people who can do some pretty bad shit in their personal life, and it will never affect their ability to do their job.
That's a good point too.
And I think that idea that she basically put forward, that, hey, if somebody has problems in their personal life, it's going to affect their professional life. Honestly, I feel like the opposite is more true. Like people take problems at work and bring them home. People do a really good job at work, and then they have no ability to care for their kids. They have terrible relationships. They're burnt out at home, so they're not able to have a flourishing personal life. I see that being much more of an issue than someone having an issue in their personal life and bringing it to work, because people know I have to do my job or else I won't have any life at all. I won't have healthcare. I won't have anything. So people are willing to sacrifice their personal life for their professional life. I feel like this conversation is ass backwards to me. And this, again, it's just frustrating. It's another sign people in the comments are like, yeah. Like, you don't understand. This is the oppressive world that you live in, and you don't see that this is problematic. And of course, again, cheating is wrong, right? Like, there's situations like the Coldplay concert with the CEO and whoever he was with that worked at the company, they got caught cheating in public. Like, yeah, you're probably gonna get fired. I'm not gonna say that you shouldn't. You probably should. That was stupid. But for a regular person, I mean, there's people like Martin Luther King Jr. who had affairs.
Good point. That's another good point.
In his personal life. But I don't hear anybody saying that we shouldn't, unless you're Charlie Kirk. I don't hear anybody saying that.
Yeah, he did say that.
You shouldn't listen to his speeches. You shouldn't be influenced by his work in the civil rights movement.
He led the movement
because of his personal flaws. And so there's some people like Trump who are just rotten to the core. His personal failures very clearly are just the indication that he has no character. Even Jeffrey Epstein said that he's a man of no moral character. Yeah, that's wild. If Jeffrey Epstein's saying you have no morality, I think.
Bro, he also said Bill Clinton is the closest thing that you can imagine to a psychopath.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
Well, damn.
These are the people that lead us.
These are our leaders. This is who. I mean, what do you expect? What type of person would want to be the president of the United States? It's going to attract psychopaths. Just same thing with CEOs. Just going to attract certain types of people, man. So, I don't know. I found this conversation interesting. I wish, as with all conversations on social media, people would think a couple steps ahead. Like, don't get so fixated on one part of the conversation that you miss the fact that there's other implications to this sort of dynamic. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, man, I don't know. That's all really I got on that topic.
All right. Well, listen, man, this has been fun.
Yep.
Well, let's bring it to a close.
Sounds good. Well, we appreciate y'all watching, tapping in with us as we continue on Ask the Next Question. If you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. If you're on Spotify, leave us a review. It helps us out in the algorithm along with all the other podcast platforms. Let us know if you'd like to hear any more topics in the future, but we'll see y'all next time. Peace.